Welcome to 2 a.m. OTTACK. I'm your host, Mayu, and
I'm kind of also your host this time, Cisco.
woohoo! We are trying our new thing.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
So, what are you going to talk about?
Okay, so if you've listened to other episodes of this podcast, you may have listened to me mention Shonen Jump app and what a big fan of it I am. And so I read all of the free chapters that come out in the Shonen Jump app pretty much the day they come out most of the time. Sometimes I'll give myself like 2-3 days to get through it, but a lot of times I read them that day. And I was thinking, not that anybody out there is asking for this really, but it might be interesting if we talked a little bit about the new manga chapters that come out every week in the Shonen Jump app. And so this is the first edition of me doing a little bit of a breakdown of what happened in the Shonen Jump app free chapters this week.
It'll be great for Shonen Jump app readers, but also I don't read Shonen Jump app at all. I don't read manga like a new manga,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll be good for like someone like me who
Sure.
doesn't know about new manga. So I'm gonna ask you some questions in between, I think, and
Cool.
we'll find out more.
All right, let's do it. So we're thinking of a couple different ways this could go, but for today, I'm just going to introduce a new manga series that debuted this week in the Shonen Jump app called Sid Craft Love is a Mystery.
Mm.
So this is a brand new manga. This is its first one. I think it was about 55 pages. So often when new manga are debuting, they get a little bit of a longer run.
Right.
And so this is the opening. The manga artist here is Tsutsui Taishi, who also drew We Never Learn,
Hmm.
which is a manga series that I read when my back was messed up. And I read all of it in like probably about a week.
Okay.
Yeah. And that one is a romantic comedy about a young man who's tutoring two different young women, both of whom are geniuses in their respective fields but suck at the other subject. And he's kind of an all around hard worker, so he helps them out. That one is very notable for having had 4 or 5 different endings, depending on which character you were rooting for him to end up with.
Hmm.
And so the last like Tankobon is just maybe even more multiple Tankobons is just like different endings. Anyway, same manga artist. He has like a really sort of traditional manga anime style. The characters are really attractive. They look sort of classic and stuff. This story is about a great detective. So the equivalent of Detective Conan as a grown up. I can't remember what is Shinichi is his real name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Sherlock Holmes or whoever. The main character is a genius detective, but he hates being a genius detective. He's really annoyed by the fact that cases keep happening around him, and even though he's really good at solving them, he kind of doesn't want to, and he would rather retreat into reading romance novels. And he really wants like romance to happen in his real life, but because he's super busy being a detective all the time, it doesn't seem to happen. It opens with him busting a girl he'd had a secret crush on for a long time as a murderer, and then goes through the first chapter where he unravels another mystery. One of the things that's interesting about it is I think like Detective Conan, it doesn't seem possible in the first one to solve the mystery before he does. It doesn't lay out the breadcrumbs the
Yeah.
way Kindaichi or some other detective one does. It's sort of Conan like in its like, oh, this is like the one hint that was like back on this other page that like you missed that showed it was this person. And if you go back, you can actually see the things they're talking about. Like they are drawn on the page, but you're not going to notice them.
Mm.
So I really enjoyed this actually, and I hope it keeps going because there are at least 2 characters that are sort of like a classic manga love triangle thing going on around him in some ways that have lots of potential for sort of like hackneyed and trite, but still enjoyable and satisfying like romantic comedy bits. And the trope of him being a detective who hates being a detective is also kind of funny. And so it's borrowing from both like detective stories and like, love triangle stories at the same time.
So what's the character's age like?
So far it's unclear, but the main character seems to be in his 20s ish. His assistant seems to be younger, but old enough to drink. So maybe he's like 26 and the assistant's like 20 or 21. And then there's a female cop who looks to be about the same age as him. And the other characters don't matter yet.
So his occupation is a detective?
Yes, he's a detective who wears, a long Sherlock Holmes style overcoat and like a funky steampunk like hat. And he's got like an assistant who thinks he's really cool and a female cop who's sort of competing with him, but always getting beaten to the punch.
Okay. So you got a really good first impression?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I already am a fan of this mangaka. I really
Mm.
liked We Never Learn. I like the art style in that. I loved the romantic tension and stuff. Like it really did it for me on a lot of levels. So I'm predisposed to like this. And I think like it being a detective story could get fairly old pretty fast unless the mysteries are really good,
Mm.
which doesn't seem like it's the point. So I don't have really high hopes for it being like a great mystery story. But the like romantic triangle piece seems like there's a lot to work with there. And I know this mangaka is good at like developing that type of story. So I think it could be fun.
Otaku.
Another thing that I thought about doing for this type of podcast is to maybe pick like a manga of the week, one that is sort of like the best of the bunch,
Okay.
or like some sort of recommendations from this week, at least until I get through all of them once they've all had a good week or something. I think my pick for the week of the other manga that came out this week might actually be Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi, which is only on episode chapter 21. So it hasn't been going that long, but I'm kind of afraid it might end soon.
Oh.
Yeah. It's it's possible that it'll keep going for a longer run, in which case, like, great. I've already said I kind of liked it, but I also am kind of getting the vibe like they might not continue this one.
Mm.
So I'll pick it for this week. Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi is kind of unsure about whether it's just like a parody of,
Mm-mm.
shonen battle manga and stuff, or whether it's a honest to God, like real story. Like a lot of it's comedy, but it has gotten kind of more serious over the chapters that it's had. And it's not really like dramatic or tear jerking, but it feels like it was starting to develop into something that wasn't just like a One Punch Man, I can take out any enemy in just one hit type of a situation, which is definitely where it started. The story is pretty good. The art style is distinctive. It looks sort of cartoony compared to most other manga,
Mm.
but I kind of liked the way that the characters developed and some of the story. The first chapter in particular is pretty good. And like I said, I get the feeling it may not have a super long run. So I thought I'd give it a quick shout out. And I thought it's getting sort of serious at this point, and I think that might mean it's almost over.
Do you know the meaning of his name?
Yeah, so Kiyoshi means pure,
Okay.
right? So he's purifying
Right.
demons. I think the English translation of his catchphrase is "I'm going to exorcise the hell out of you," which in some ways is like "I will really exorcise you," but also has this pun in it of like "I'm taking the hell out of you, demon."
Oh, okay.
So it's a little jokey. Like I said, I feel like it had
Yeah.
like a little bit of an identity crisis. It sort of started off as a comedy and then became something else. And so you can see some reflections of things like One Punch Man in it that has like a similar sort of arc, having started off as a joke and then like, oh God, I guess this is popular. Here we go, run with it, make it like, more serious. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. And it also seems like it might be wrapping up. So there you go. Ultimate Exorcist Kyoshi is my pick of the week here.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is a tryout, and we'd like to know if you like this kind of podcast style. And so leave us some comments if you like it, or like hit the like button, or like leave a comment, or give us like stars, like I always say.
Yeah. And if you were looking forward to me summarizing the other manga of the week, or you'd like my take on
Oh,
how the other ones are going, go ahead and tell us which ones you'd like to hear more about.
oh.
Or if you just want me to do like a 45-minute episode where I talk about literally all of them, that's a possibility too. Maybe
Okay.
not. Maybe not.
No, maybe. Thank you so much for listening to 2 AM OTTACK. Make sure to subscribe our channel and keep listening. Keep enjoy listening. What do you
Yeah,
say?
I hope so.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Bye.